wood since time immemorial has been one of the most valuable weapons of war. It is not so very long ago since the mightiest fleets of the world were built from wood, just sea-going trees in fact. But if somebody told you that these fallen giants would soon be winging their way across the Channel to blast Germany's war machine, you would probably think he was a little gone in the head. Nevertheless, just as in the past Britain put wood to sea, so today she puts it in the air. In Canadian factories, as in Britain, the transformation takes place. Wood is being shaped and given wings to fly. Slowly but surely, trees are turning into aeroplanes. Aeroplanes made entirely of wood that have, in all-round performance, beaten anything yet built. Perhaps you've guessed their identification. They started as night fighters, but have done practically every type of work. Terrific speed made them ideal for photo reconnaissance. Terrific power allowed them to carry loads equal to bombers twice their size. I expect you've all guessed what they are by now, but for those still in doubt, mosquitoes the name, just flying trees. It's a fact. French pilot Captain Marchelidon shot down the last enemy aircraft over France before his country's collapse in 1940. Here he is after the first encounter with enemy aircraft over the same territory in support of the liberating armies in 1944. Another French pilot, Denis Boudin, whose home is in Normandy, escaped from there after its occupation by the Nazis. He shows a picture of the family to his friends once more before he takes off. Boudin had been waiting over 3 years for this moment. For no longer is he merely going to fly over his home, he is going home. And although his native village of Fleur is largely in ruins, he has reason to believe that his mother and sister still wait for him. Chinese pilot Flight Lieutenant Tan, DFC, flew with the RAF in Britain. Between sorties, he used to settle down to a quiet game of cards with members of his squadron. Tan was flying Spitfires in his third invasion, having seen operations in Sicily and at the Anzio beachhead in Italy. We regret to say that Tan is now reported missing. Typhoon pilot Sergeant Ted Dunn of 266 Squadron was the first man to bail out over enemy territory on D-Day. Slipping through enemy lines, he appeared back at his squadron, bringing with him the first enemy trophy of the invasion, a German helmet and rifle. Many pilots have their lucky charms, and here Flight Lieutenant Conroy of the Royal Australian Air Force rushes to his aircraft for a sortie when he suddenly remembers he has left his behind. Known to his pals as Guns, he has never yet taken off without a silk stocking fully fashioned, given him by his girlfriend in England. What with gliders and charms, no wonder there are so many bare legs around.
Boy, I zipper up my lip. Now the military secret that I carry in my brain, I keep in safe deposit with a padlock and chain. You bet I got a secret. Oh, and I bet we find it out. The soldier's got a secret, but I bet we find it out. Hello, Ma, I got a secret. I can only drop a tip. Don't breathe a word to no one, but I'm going on a trip. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going on a trip. Hey, give me some magazines to read for when I'm on the ship. Don't breathe a word to no one, but he's going to go by ship. It's a cinch to keep a secret if a fella just takes care. troop ship. Now we got to find out where. I'm a sound and silent soldier, just as steady as a rock. Here's to my little secret, with its chain and padlock. Hello, baby. Hiya, Sussy. Say you're a nifty trick. I hope I meet some babes in Africa as cute as you are. This message is important. I must fly it double quick. It's been a wonderful evening, and I'd like to stay some more. But I gotta get a move on now. I sail at 4:30. He's got to get a move on now. He sails at 4:30. Hey, the troop ship bound for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Calling all wolfpacks! Calling all wolfpacks! The transport ship for Africa pulls out at 4:30. Sauerkraut. He wonders who in hell it was that let his secret out.
Here it is, or what remains of it. Called Doodlebug or Buzzbomb, the pilotless plane with the explosive head is in fact the aerial torpedo. Used as it is by the enemy, it is completely blind, and as an indiscriminate weapon of terror, it represents just about the lowest level which the Germans have reached. Before we go any further, let us take a look at it more clearly. The square wing type which we examine here has an average speed of about 350. It is 25 feet long and has a 16-foot wingspan. Range is approximately 150 miles. The explosive is carried in the warhead, mounted in a thin casing in front of the fuselage, which is usually painted dark green on top and light blue underneath. A steel tubular main spar passes through the fuel tank, while in the bottom of the fuselage is the launching rail. Compressed air stored in spherical wire-bound bottles feed the fuel sprayers under pressure. The fuel used is petrol. The jet propulsion unit is contained in a tube of welded steel approximately 11 feet in length. At the end of the fuselage are the automatic pilot gyros responsible for controlling the height and range. They are determined by a time switch. Have a look at one of these in flight. Hear it as it streaks over London at somewhere around 400 miles an hour. Fighters are playing a vital role in disposing of these missiles, outstanding of which has been the work of the Tempest, shown later in this issue. At first, attacks were made from 400 yards, but gradually this range closed to 150. Approach is often made from the rear, and 20mm cannon fire either wrecks the engine, puts the gyro out of commission, or explodes the bomb. The pilot must be wondering what's going to happen in this case. Well, let's just sit back and watch. At night, the air torpedo is easy to see, and many have fallen to the guns of anti-aircraft batteries. They've already taken big toll both by day and by night. Other means of defense are supplied by the balloon barrage. And these men perhaps feel that they have come into their own at last. Great numbers of balloons line the path of the torpedo over the south coast. The new type installations designed by the enemy on experience gained under previous bombing are well camouflaged and difficult to find. But bomber command in clear weather can harass them sufficiently to reduce their activity. Taken all in all, and despite some sad tragedies, the aerial torpedo will become recognized eventually as the biggest flop or the dampest squib the Herren folk have yet launched. Friend Goebbels runs a super-scale propaganda attack, while the cruelest division of the Luftwaffe struggles along with less than 25% of its original program. Goebbels shrieks, "For nearly 30 hours, England has been shaking as if in the grip of an earthquake. The sky of Britain is transformed into a sea of fire." If they believe these lies, so much the worse for them. No, Goebbels, it is true that certain German prisoners of war have asked to be removed from their camp for fear of the torpedo, but that is natural, for in their minds it was meant for the British women and children, not German supermen. Nevertheless, we considered our children more important, and therefore precautions have been taken. The children will be able to enjoy the country and have a holiday at the same time, which is not such a bad thing anyway. However, there is no reason to minimize the trials we have to endure. And you should know, Goebbels, that your terror weapon is building up in this country the same kind of implacable hatred among civilians and fighting men that exists wherever the Nazis and their Gestapo have implanted their murderous rule. Know also that the British people react to unique events not only with calm, but also with an inflexible determination to fulfill any task they have set themselves. The time of retribution approaches swiftly. The Gestapo murder gang will be dealt with on the basis of collective and personal responsibility and without mercy. Its crimes are without doubt. Well, what about it, recognition experts? Have you all got it? Yes, it's the Tempest. Without doubt, the finest piece of machinery to take the air to date. These pictures are not for public release because she is still on the secret list, which of course means that I cannot tell you very much about her. Suffice it to say that this aircraft is faster and supports armament greater than anything in operation today. A Tempest test pilot told me that he'd never flown anything easier or more perfect, a pretty high recommendation. The service is receiving these machines in ever-increasing numbers, and their total of flying torpedoes to date exceeds 500. Not a bad record. New weapons of war, made for fighting men to be used against fighting men. £100-pounders in a concentrated salvo. An air torpedo. Anti-personnel bombs designed to burst in the air. Auxiliary petrol tanks now used as incendiaries. Mortars firing new phosphorus shells. Flamethrowers attacking a tank with equipment more powerful than anything yet devised. Perhaps it would shake them a bit if the Germans captured this film. We must remember to leave it lying around.
Well, I'm in America now, Bert. The United States. Of course, I can't tell you why I'm here, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. Especially when I think the government is paying, not me. I've seen some pretty interesting things. Big things. This, for instance, is the biggest building in the world. They call it the Empire State Building. There are 102 floors, so if the lift boys are on strike and you've had a good evening, you've had it, chum. Makes you think, doesn't it? Everything is pretty big out here, including the hospitality. I saw the biggest flying boat. They call her the Mars. It's a hell of a size. Weighs 140,000 pounds. I can't work that out, and I don't think you can if I remember correctly. But you can probably find someone to do it. She's in the Navy side now. You see, they work things differently from us. They have a Navy and an Army Air Force, separate if you know what I mean. I can't tell you much about her, because she's still a secret. But you can have a look at the inside if you like. It makes you think, doesn't it? They say we'll be travelling in these after the war. Of course, I didn't say anything, but I thought to myself, not bloody likely. I'm going to stop home for a bit. Well, we leave the Mars now. She's going to take up her duty in the Pacific. Next, please. How about this, eh? The biggest transport plane. She was getting ready for a 2,400-mile trip across America. 2,400-mile trip across America. Blimey. You couldn't do that across our country, not unless you went round and round, could you? I'm told that this aircraft trots along at 355 miles per hour. Well, nothing surprises me now. I guess I'm past it. This chap goes into the Army side, because they got a separate army and... Oh, I told you that, didn't I? They got quite a few of these now in service. Constellation, they call them, and they can carry 100 of the brown jobs with full equipment. Next, please. This'll give you a laugh. It's a kind of barracks on wheels. Has 3 decks and carries 250 troops. And it goes. You'll probably say this is not of interest to the boys, but I'm one of them, and we like a little variation. Not always RAF. So you put it in the gen and show a little common sense for a change. Well, cheerio for now, Bert. I'll be seeing you.